good to be back. Mike here, coming to you with another Play Well Live, and we're going to do our best today to build a Lego clock that can accurately tell the time. Or maybe more of a timer. I don't know if it's going to be a clock or a timer or what we're going to do here, but I want to see if we can get an accurate telling of the time here. Hi, Petra. Thanks for joining. Nice to see you. All right, so what I've got here, just to get us started, this isn't accurate. Right now it goes around in about 36 seconds. That's not going to do us any good. But I wanted to just show you some of what we're going to be doing here. Whoa. I've talked a little bit in the past about gear ratios and compound gearing and stuff. We're going to put that to the max today as we try to get our gear ratios correct. Let me turn this off so I'm not trying to talk over the buzz of my Lego motor here. All right, so you had Ben last week on here, which was awesome, talking about the travel of Archimedes, which was super sweet. I'm excited to be back. Let's get going with this, shall we? Okay, so first of all, for our Lego timer, our Lego clock, the important thing to know is how fast is this spinning already? How fast is a Lego motor spinning? Okay, so I did a little research. I looked it up, and the Lego motors that we're using, they only have one speed. Some of the newer ones have adjustable speed, things like that. We're not dealing with that. We're going the hard way here. So our motor spins 380 times per minute. Okay. Now, if you think about the second hand on a clock, goes all the way around, it takes a minute, right? So we need one rotation per minute. So we need to go from 380 rotations per minute down to one. Okay. All right. So we're gonna see how we can do that. Hi, Kirsten. Let's see. Is that Tyler who's there with Kirsten's profile? I can't remember, but either of you, welcome. Thank you. All right. So here's the tricky thing. We need to get this down to one rotation a minute, right? So we've talked about this before, how we can kind of scale down or gear up or gear down something to make it go faster or slower based on the size of gears that we're connecting, right? So if I have two gears that are the same size, it's just a gear ratio of one. Every time this one spins, it's going to spin the other one once. But if I have different sizes, yeah, Tyler, awesome. Thanks, Tyler. All right, if I have different sizes, they're going to spin at a different rate, right? So this one, if this little one has 12 teeth, this big one has 36. 12 goes into 36 3 times, which means this little one needs to spin around 3 times to get this one to spin once. So that's what we're going to use here. We're going to use these ratios to try to gear up in a series of gearing mechanisms to get to our optimal area here. Awesome. Hey, Frank. All right, and hope maybe Arthur. Awesome. All right, let's see here. So 380. Here's what I wanted to do first. I wanted to break this up and see what kind of numbers we're dealing with. So I'm gonna factor this. Okay. So hey, Oliver, do I need gears and a motor? So this is gonna be one that I'm gonna just we're gonna be experimenting. If you want to try to build along, you would need some gears and a motor, but this is gonna be a lot of experimentation, and I'm just gonna kind of show you more of the process of testing this out and how you can figure out how to make things go faster, slower, or even get a specific speed, okay? So for me here, 380, I start to factor this out, all right? It's 5 times 76, cool, okay, which breaks down into 4 times 19. 19 is a tricky number. We don't have a gear that has 19 teeth or any sort of ratio that's going to get us around 19. So I did a little other experimenting with some numbers, and here's what I found. Okay, 380, a hard number to get to exactly. However, with some numbers that play well or that Lego gears come in, I found something super close. 24 times 16 is 384. That's super close to 380, right? So basically I could get this like 99% accurate on my time, right? It could take like actually 59 seconds to go around or whatever it is, okay? So we're gonna try to get as close as possible as we can here. So I'm gonna show you how this is gonna work. We're gonna try to get 384 as our as our ratio that we're scaling this down. Okay. You might be going, all right, Mike, what are you talking about? This I don't get this. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, here we go. We said 24 and 16 were the numbers we're trying to go for here. Here's the thing. We're going to use our worm gears, okay? If you don't have worm gears around, don't worry. The same process is going to work with different gears. I'm just going to use our worm gears because the worm gear is super cool because it has one tooth, so I can get a really big ratio, a really wide ratio really easily. And I'm using these little worm gear boxes that fit a 24 tooth gear in there. All right. Do you remember how I said 24 was one of the numbers we wanted to get? Boom, here I've got a ratio of 1 to 24. One tooth on my worm gear to 24 teeth up here. Okay, super cool. All right, Petra, I know the clocks in our house are always a little different as well, but you know, now you can have a Lego clock that's also a little different. Great, why not? So 16 is a little bit harder one to get to. I could, there's some different ways we can do this. I could get a 1 to 16 ratio. I could get my 16 stud spur gear here and a worm gear. Maybe we could try that. Just go directly to it. Get a 1 to 24 ratio and a 1 to 16 ratio. And then you multiply those, and that's what your overall ratio is. So that would give me 1 to 384, which is almost exactly the reduction we want to get. So I had some other ideas of ways to do this too, but let's try this first. Let's see if we can get our gears set up here, okay? So I'm gonna get some other pieces that are gonna be handy here, which are some of our technical beams, our holy beams, okay? And I've got some axles nearby, some things that are gonna help me out here, okay? The cool thing about this 24 one is that it fits in my little housing here. Not gonna work for our 16, so we're gonna have to set up sort of our own housing, and we're going to see if we can do that, okay? So first of all, let's get some axles, and I'm going to just tilt this down here so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing, okay? I've got my 24 tooth gear that I'm going to lock in place until you put an axle in there. It can just sort of fall out. So there's my 24 tooth. And I would have an axle coming through my worm gear here as well that would go to my motor. So this would start it. You can see how it spins. I'm spinning super fast, and that top gear spins really slow, right? I have to spin this 24 times to get that to spin once. Okay. And then what I'm going to want is I'm going to want my worm gear next to be the kind of coming out of here, the output. It's going to then turn this next one, right? That's what I'm going for. So I need to find somehow to mount this other gear here. All right, and we're going to see what that's going to take. It's going to be a little tricky to get that to line up, right? I need that 16 tooth gear over here to mesh with that worm gear, okay? So let's just start experimenting. I'm going to see if I can, let's see, would this go right up next to it? Ooh, that might run into the worm gear box. So I'm going to put a little bushing on here first, and then put my worm gear on there so it comes out a little bit. And now I need to find a way to get this gear mounted over next to it here. Okay. All right, so here's where things are going to get a little trickier, and we're just going to see what we can do here. I want to mount this on something. I want to have a platform that I'm working with, so I really know where things are at. Okay. So the worm gear box, if I just add a little plate on the bottom, it lines up nicely with my motor. You can see it right on the bottom there. And I'm just going to get some sort of platform to put this on so that we have something else to build off of. Okay. So this is where I'm at here. And what I'm going to try to do is get some beams set up to hold this little gear underneath here, right? All right, so let's see if we can do that. Let's see how high we'd have to go up. And you know what? A lot of this is just trial and error. We're just experimenting, because the tricky thing with gears is if they're not touching, right? If they're not touching each other, it's not going to work. The only way a gear works is if it's meshing properly, right? That's what it's called when the teeth of the gears come together there, that meshing, okay? So let's take a look here and see how high up we need to get this. I'm going to start simple. I'm just going to put a holy beam on top of there. That looks like it might be close. Let's see. I'm gonna see if we're close enough. All right, let's just put a axle on our gear here to give us something to work with. Drop that down in there. Ooh, that is very close. You know what? That might be right on, but I'm a little off center. Do you see how? If I can get this angle right for you on the camera there. All right, so my 16-tooth gear is a little off to the side. I want it directly under that worm gear to make sure that it meshes really well. So I'm gonna, let's see here. I'm gonna move this back just a little bit. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Let's do this. Here, I was gonna just scoot this back one, but it's starting to run into my motor, so I need to just switch this up a little bit and scoot it back. Okay, but now if I put this in there, ooh, my gear's gonna be a little too far under there, so I need one more piece here. We put our little bushing on there earlier. I'm gonna now use a little half bushing. This is what I love about this. I'm just sort of experimenting until I get it right. Okay, let's see. Now, I've got my gear underneath there. Okay. Can't turn it yet, but that's because it's sort of locked in there by this gear. But now, let's see what I'm doing. I'm going from my motor, which is spinning 380 times per minute. It goes into a worm gear, which is a 1:24 ratio. So this one is spinning 24 times slower. So let's do that. That means it is spinning, if I start 380 and divide it by 24. Okay, now I'm at 15.833 revolutions per minute. Okay, 15.833. That's super close to 16, right? So now I go here. This output that's spinning 15.833 times per minute is now connected up to the 16-tooth gear. So that means a 1:16 ratio. Every time this spins once, or every time this spins 16, it spins that once. So 15.833 divided by 16 is going to be very close to 1, right? 0.99. Okay. I know it's not exact, so this isn't going to be an exact clock. It's going to get off on its time. I know, I apologize. But that's pretty darn good. We're going to get 0.99. We're going to get 99% of the way there, okay? Let's see here. I want to just lock this in place a little bit more. I'm going to support. Let's just support our little thing on the other side here as well. Grab another of my half bushings. Thanks for the encouragement, Petra. Look at this. All right. And I'm going to lock this in place over here. So do you see what I did? I basically just built another little housing, right? Another little frame. This one is nice because it's just pre-built and ready for me. But I can build anything that can fit my gears and get them to mesh. All right, now right now that just sort of throws that other gear off of there. We need to lock that one in place as well. I could use a bushing on the end, or I can use, oh, I see. I can't use that, right? That doesn't fit. It doesn't reach. Okay? So we're going to run into this sometimes where things don't line up exactly. Now, thankfully, we've got some other pieces we can use to get us just sort of in between the height of bricks, right? Which are our plates. So the things where you're experimenting with gear ratios and different sizes of gears, things that are going to be really handy to have are obviously your gears, your axles, your holy beams, but then your plates, because those are what's going to allow us to adjust things just slightly to get things to mesh correctly and line up correctly. So you see I added just a little plate on each side, and now I can put my holy beam on there, lock it into place. My gears are meshing. My worm gear's not flying off there like it was before. All right, so my output now should be 0.99 rotations per minute, which means I'm almost exactly like the second hand on our clock. Okay? Okay. Let's test it out. Let's see what it's doing, okay? I am going to put a little spinning clock hand on here, which there are any number of ways you could do this. I just found one of these little 90-degree connectors and put that on there. Okay. And let's see here. I want us to do an experiment and see how close we got. Now, what could throw this off? If my batteries are running low, I could be skewing this a little bit, but we're gonna get as close as we can. I want to get this right up to the top so we can really test this out here. It looks like it's going at a pretty respectable speed there. Okay, all right, that looks decent. Now I'm gonna see also if I can add a little something on here that I prepared. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to try to set this up. How am I going to attach this? I don't have the right pieces next to me. That's okay. I can come up with something. I was looking for a way. I built a little clock face that I wanted to use on here. So we're going to see if I can support my little clock face. All right. Now, if you remember, I'm coming to you from up in Seattle. Okay, what's the number on top of a clock? The 12. Only makes sense that I have my 12th man flag for the Seahawks as my as the top of my clock there. Okay, so this mechanism now I want to fit through my clock there, and let's see if I can mount this behind there. All right, we're gonna see if I can get this working here. All right, maybe. Okay, get some good overlapping. Really reinforce this back here. Make sure I'm doing everything the way I want it. Okay, I'm just overlapping. I'm just covering up cracks to make sure things are connected nice and strong. Okay, this would then go right like that. All right, we have the second hand of our clock. All right, I need to figure out how to delete a comment. Someone put "Go Niners" in there. I don't know what that's about. All right, Petra. Okay, so here's the thing. Have your stopwatches ready. I need you to test this for me. I need you to help me and see how accurate this is. We're going to time it and see if it really is, if it is able to go around once in a minute, right? So I've got my timer here. I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute on my phone here so that we can test our clock. And I'm going to try to start both of these at the same time. First, I need to see which direction I'm going. Okay, yep. All right. Here's a little trick. Sometimes when you put this down, it's hard to remember which way is forward, which way is backward, which way is going to start my clock in the right way. I just figured it out, and I'm just going to take any piece I have, any pin, any other little thing, and I'm going to put that in the side that I know that's the direction I want to push it towards that pin. That's what I always like to do so that I don't forget and then do the wrong thing, and then I have to start over again and all those sorts of things. Okay, ready? Here we go. We're going to test this out. Let's see if I can get this straight on my clock. Oh, it's not quite upright. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Are we ready? I need your help to time me. On your mark. Get set. Go. All right. So, how's everybody doing? I don't really have anything to talk about, and we have to wait a whole minute. So, Okay, let's see how we're doing. All right, it's going around. It's making its way around. Oh, is it going to run into my clock frame? Woo! I don't know how I did that, but it's like a millimeter away. All right, let's see. Okay, we're pretty accurate. Let's see how we get to the top here. I've got like 20 seconds left to go. That's looking pretty on point. Let's see, though. Oh, it might be a little slow. Let's see. Come on, go clock, go. Okay, that's my timer. How'd we do? How'd we do? Okay, let's see. I'd say that's pretty darn close. I said we'd get 99% of the way there, didn't I? So that checks out. Our gear ratios did exactly what we expected them to do, right? So, I think that's pretty cool. I know it's not exactly on there, but it's pretty close. So we got to about 59 seconds when we wanted it to get all the way around. Okay, that's sweet. Now, the tricky thing about trying to make a clock is it's got those two hands that spin, right? Okay. Yeah, so every minute I'd be off by 1 second, right? Yeah. Petra says to change out the batteries. I could try putting in brand new batteries and see if I can give it just a little extra jolt. But since this is basically what we expected from our ratio, I don't know how much that would help. So, yeah, nice, Allison. I like the calculations you're doing there. Okay, so our clock would get fairly off. All right, so this might work better as like a timer. If you're playing a game or something, you could use this as a little timer for it because that's pretty close to a minute, right? Now, I did want to look at something else. What about that minute hand, right? This is the second hand, and we had to gear it down by a factor of 380, right? If I was now trying to make the minute hand on my clock, it doesn't take 1 minute to go around. The minute hand ticks off one little minute, right? So it takes 60 minutes to go around. So we would be looking at, let's see here, 380 times 60. We'd have to gear this down by a factor of 22,800. Okay, so that's a lot. I did a little experimenting here, and well, I don't know if we're going to finish this one here. We may be out of time here, but I did a little experimenting, and I think we could get, not I think, I did some calculating. We could get the same level of accuracy. We could get that 99% by gearing it down by 24, then by 24 again, and then by 40. Okay, so 24 times 24 times 40 is going to get us to 23,040. So that's that same like 99% accuracy to our other one that we use for our second hand here. So that would work pretty well. Okay, so you can see what I set up here. I have my motor into my worm gear again, 1 to 24, into another worm gear to another 24 tooth gear, so another 1 to 24, right? And then I would have to get this little worm gear out here hooked up to a 40 tooth, and that would get me my minute hand. That's my minute hand. That's not even my hour hand, right? Some clocks don't even have the second hand. To get that hour one, then I'd have to reduce this further by a factor of 12, right? Because there's 12 spots on the clock, 12 spots going around. So you get a sense of how much you can amplify these gear ratios. And I just think that is super cool because you get this motor that's going to make it tick off just right. All right, Peter says, let's make a ball machine to go every minute to move the hand. I mean, there's just so many possibilities here. I could just work all day on this, but then I wouldn't get anything else done. So I encourage you to work all day on this. Anybody who wants to, show us what you come up with because there's a lot of different ways to do this. I showed you kind of one set of ratios to do this, right? But I showed you this other one first. If you don't have worm gears, the cool thing about this is you can just stack different gears. You see what I did here? Let's follow this. I have my motor attached to an 8 tooth, which then goes to a 40 tooth. So 8 goes into 45 times. Okay, reduced by a factor of 5 there. Then that one turns this little 12 tooth gear over here and gets us going to 36. So 12 goes into 36 3 times. That's a factor of 3. So you multiply those. Now I've got a factor of 5 and a factor of 3. 3 times 5 is 15. All right, this one's now going 15 times slower. Then I've got another 5, or another 8 to a 40, which is 5. So 15 times 5 is 75. Get where this is going. Then I've got another 12 to 36, which is 3. 75 times 3 is 150. No, 225. All right. I've already geared this down by a factor of 225. Okay. So you can keep stacking these, and you can come up with different ways to get to the area you want, right? Say you want to make something that goes around once every 40 seconds. Maybe for some game you want a 40-second timer. Well, there you go. You got to figure out how to get from 380 down to 40. Okay. So there's some interesting things you can experiment with here, because different things you want different timers, right? I think the timer application almost works better for this than a clock, because it's hard to get right on those exact numbers that we were talking about. Okay, but timers for games, totally. You can make timers that are all different sorts of things, different sorts of lengths. Okay, so I don't know. I think it's cool. I hope that was interesting for you. Thanks for joining me in the math there and keeping me straight on top of things. You know, maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll keep tinkering here, and I'll come back with a finished clock one of these future weeks, and we can take a look at that. But yeah, Peter, the minute hand setup is not all that complicated. If you've got those worm gears, you can reduce things drastically in no time, right? So that one tooth, right? Because if you're going, otherwise our smallest gear is 8. That's a lot different, right? And 8 to 40 is only a ratio of 5. 1 to 40, whoa, now we're scaling it back quickly, right? So by using worm gears, you can really reduce the gearing super, super quick. All right, that's it for today. I will be back next week. I might have a special guest next week. We'll see. I'm working on something for that, to fulfill a request that I've had from some of you, for some dragons potentially, but I can't confirm nor deny that will be next week. If not, we'll do something else. So remember, if you build something, share it in the comments here, or just post it with the hashtag #PlayWellAtHome. Check that out. I'd love to see what you come up with, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.